Them and their stupid Captain's Log Supplemental. The Danula Diplomacy crew got dropped off, and they're going to be there for a couple days, so we're just going to sit here in orbit. In the meantime, Jenkins organizes this play that we're going to put on in, you know how every starship has a stage these days. So we're just going to put it on in the break room on the stage. But Jenkins had open casting for the play. And look, I know I'm not supposed to leverage my position, but you think that being captain would give you some privilege, but no, they won't cast me in. I didn't make the cut. Unbelievable. Well, I do have some ability here. See how Jenkins' play goes when I schedule Kowalski's polka group to share the stage with them that night.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Captain's Log Supplemental. As always, I am Rob, and I'm joined by my two friends and co-hosts, Stanford.
Hello.
And Chris.
Hey there.
Captain's Log Supplemental is a Star Trek rewatch podcast. Each week we cover another episode of Star Trek, marching ahead in chronological order by star date. As a fledgling podcast, we'd appreciate you taking the time to rate and review us on your podcast supplier of choice. Those ratings go a long way to helping us reach out to other Star Trek fans. So this week's episode was Season 1, Episode 23 of Enterprise, Fallen Hero.
So when Rob hosts this, I feel like it's when the teacher is on point and you don't get any banter time, because it's welcome to the podcast. Here we fucking go.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Buckle up.
Whereas when I'm on, it's when the subs here, hey guys, you want to talk about Star Trek, or whatever.
We're just gonna put on a movie.
You want to watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail again? Yeah. So this week's episode's intro has fully reinforced that this is the horniest iteration of Star Trek ever.
Jesus Christ.
and mealtime open.
They're eating.
Uh-huh. Yep, they're eating. So Archer is actually choking on his food in the open, and T'Pol asks if he and Trip are suffering from a lack of sexual activity, which that's a question.
I don't buy that a Vulcan would ask that, given their own proclivities about sex.
I also agree, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because T'Pol kind of introduces the two of them to the concept of Ponfar, right? That whole Vulcans only...
once every 7 years.
Yeah, but Trip should already know that, because what's his face told him from the Happy Vulcan episode.
That is true.
That's right.
Although Trip's that's one hell of a dry spell, and then he's got this creepy little smirk on his face. This whole scene was just can we stop being just teenage boys at the moment? What the fuck are we doing?
There's a lot of teenage boy humor going on.
Yeah, it's the horniest Star Trek, that's all.
Although, underlying all of it, T'Pol is doing a good job as XO, because she's hey, the crew's just not working as well as they usually do. I think they just need some leave, so can we schedule a stopover at a place where they can just get a little bit of shore leave and kind of freshen up? Good XO. Yeah. Good job.
I mean, her first suggestion was for them to fuck it out, but,
No, she specifically said Archer and Trip needed to fuck it out.
Together.
She didn't say not.
So she recommends some shore leave on a planet called Risa, which is, I guess, famous for its 12... Well, I think they said they have 12 fingers on one hand, and they're super good at massages.
Vesuvian, I believe? Something like that. Maybe not Vesuvian. Something like that, though. Risa's famously a pleasure planet, right? That's
it's the shore leave planet in every Star Trek.
Hey, Rob. Yeah. Rob, T'Pol said they got pristine beaches.
So a little bit of a backstory here. We were on a cruise a couple years ago, and there was a very nice Greek captain who
12 years ago.
Yeah. They had this rolling intro video, when you first walked into the suite. And it was the captain who, through a Greek accent, was trying to explain that we were going to visit places that had pristine beaches, but it sounded like pristine bitches because of the accent. And we giggled about that for the entire trip.
The entire cruise.
The 12 years that followed, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. I have in my notes here, in quotes, pristine bitches. 2012, 2011, somewhere in there. God damn.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Just a few.
Yeah, so I love Tripp's Hawaiian shirt that he's sporting when he shows up on the bridge.
My God, it was incredible.
It was so good.
It makes me want to start wearing Hawaiian shirts again, although Mariah does not like them. That's why I don't have them anymore.
They're fucking terrible.
Oh, I'd say that's racist, but I think it's just white people who wear them, so I don't think that...
It is 100% just white people who wear them.
Yeah, and then T'Pol does like the Vulcan version of browbeating Archer into taking a vacation.
Yep. Although, I again, I'm going to come back to... I'm circling back to this Hawaiian shirt. Why does T'Pol even have an opinion about it?
What do you mean?
She chastises him for his shitty shirt. Like, why does she have an opinion? Why does she care what Tripp's shirt looks like?
I mean, Vulcans still have a fashion sense.
Do they? They wear bathrobes to work.
She's just crushing on him, that's all. She doesn't know how to express her feelings.
Yeah, so all she can do is comment on the Hawaiian shirts that are very out of place on the bridge of the Enterprise, as it turns out.
Yep.
And yeah, she's browbeating Archer because Archer's like, I'm not going down to Risa. I have some astrometric surveys that have been piling up, so it'll be a good time to get some work done. Motherfucker, what do you do all day? Like, is that your job or not?
He's doing, bud. He's
apparently
doing.
Not.
He's doing all the things that need doing.
Yeah, he's got to do something. He's Captain Doer.
Yeah. The do man.
So unfortunately for the crew and for Trip, before they get a chance to make it to Risa, Archer gets a message from Admiral Forrest that they need to go and pick up a Vulcan ambassador from a planet called Mizar. And her name is Valar, which is very confusing.
Oh, I never caught her name. I do remember Mizar, but I did not remember her name at all.
Valar, Ambassador Valar. Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, V''LAR.
Okay, this has inspired me. I think at some point one of us, and I'm going to put my finger on my nose now, should learn to freestyle rap. Sorry, not me. I don't know.
My finger's also on my nose. I'm sorry, Chris, you lose.
I don't know. Looking at the color of my skin, I feel like I should not do that.
Oh, God, I shot water into my nose.
So Hoshi, I couldn't tell if Hoshi actually volunteered her quarters or if she was talked out of her quarters by T'Pol, but one way or another, they kick Hoshi out of her room and tell her to take all of her stuff with her because Vulcans don't like stuff.
I think she volunteered. Like, she seems like the kind of person that'd be like, yeah, sure, she can have my quarters for a little bit.
It wouldn't surprise me, though. She's very, like, accommodating of other people.
Although, yeah, like T'Pol tells her to take a little picture, so she takes a little picture, she opens the door, and that just happens to be the moment that Archer was, like, coming in. Mm-hmm. That motherfucker does not let her go through the doorway first. Unacceptable. No. Bakula barges through that door just to show Hoshi who's boss.
Yep. He had to do stuff. He's Captain Doer.
Yep. T'Pol also has a list of guidelines for the crew, like recommendations based on Vulcan culture. So they're not allowed to talk to the ambassador unless spoken to. There's to be
T'Pol's no fun guidelines.
Yeah. There's absolutely no handshaking allowed, and you're not allowed to laugh in the ambassador's presence.
And I'm like, oh yeah. This ain't in a little bit, but like, it's like no laughing. All right.
The Vulcans call Archer and let Archer know that Valar has been expelled.
The Mizar, the Mazarites. The Mazarites call Archer, not the Vulcans.
No. The Vulcans called.
No?
I'm pretty sure.
Nope. The Mazarites, because they show up at Mazar. The Mazarites, and they're hailed immediately by the Mazarites from down on the planet. And the Mazarites are like, she's already on her way up. You don't have to land. And Archer's like, oh, okay. And the Mazarites are like, did they tell you why she's fucking leaving? And Archer's like, no, but I love some goss. And then the Mazarites are like, bitch did some crimes. And Archer's like, no. And then that was the end of that call.
So, by the way, I want to point out, like Archer, when he like answers the call and like starts talking, has like the douchiest expression on his face.
Yes, we call that the
bacula.
answers
comms.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's just like the whole he does this with a lot of on the episodes too. Just like, well, I guess I gotta talk to this fucking guy. Do my job.
He does it later in this episode.
He does too. He's such a douche.
I have it in my notes.
Like, what? Why that face? It's just
why
like,
do you hate your job that you volunteered for?
That's the face I make when I'm like have to do something at work I really don't want to do.
Yeah. Apparently that's his entire job.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, they let Archer know that Valar has been expelled for abuse of her position and criminal misconduct. They welcome Valar on board, and she immediately reaches out to shake Archer's hand, much to Paul's displeasure.
Paul needs to calm the fuck down. This woman is an ambassador. This is like literally her job is to be like more willing to do alien stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Side note, I'm pretty sure this is the first time Archer has ever received a warm greeting from a visitor on Enterprise.
That's probably why he looked so confused.
He was very confused. It's like, this never happens.
Oh shit! I don't know what to do.
T'Pol also misjudges Valar's concern about her quarters, the prior tenant being Hoshi, as being a complaint about human body odor.
She's like, oh god, the smell.
Yeah.
Jeez, T'Pol.
And then Tucker winds up getting a taste of a Vulcan attempt at sarcasm after he asks Valar's age.
Incredible. Everything. So first of all, we're eating again because this episode, not good without two eating scenes. But this woman, like a little sneak peek of our review section later, I gave this episode a 7 out of 10. I would give it a 6, except this woman brought me up to a 7. She is fucking incredible throughout the whole episode.
She's also been in other Star Trek episodes as well.
That does not surprise me.
What else has she been in?
She was definitely. I did not specify, but I do remember her in a Next Generation episode before.
Okay. I think she's been on other TV shows too. Like she's just one of those actors that kind of pops up here and there.
Right. Yeah.
But she was hilarious because she's like, I remember when y'all were news. Meeting you was news on Vulcan back when I was fresh into the ambassador. And Trip's like, damn, how long you been an ambassador? And she's like, I understand it's rude to ask a lady her age. Tee. And Trip is so like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Trip's actor did a great job in this whole scene. Like he looked so upset at himself.
And then T'Pol brings everything down by just being like, so, I heard you're a fucking criminal.
Yeah. So she asks Valar specifically, how do you intend to defend yourself against these accusations? And gets very upset when Valar is like, there will be no defense. Valar also kind of senses T'Pol's disappointment in her when T'Pol leads her back to her quarters for the night. And so Archer stops T'Pol in the hallway after this incident, right? And kind of senses T'Pol's unease of the whole situation. This just feels, again, like Archer's just kind of like interjecting himself into the social situations of his crew in strange ways. Like, T'Pol is doing her job. She's 100% a good XO. It's weird that he felt the need, or at least to me, he felt the need to, like, interject in this situation. I don't know.
Well, T'Pol...
I think this one is more understandable, because it is, she's an ambassador, she's a guest on the ship.
Right. And Archer, I think, like, as much as he wants to be like, oh, so what'd you do? Like, I think he's like, it's not our business. Like, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to take her to the Vulcans. So, like, I think that T'Pol is being a little pry-y here in a way that is inappropriate. Like, her job is not to pry into this woman's crimes, etc.
Yeah,
So that's true. Yeah. She was particularly sensitive to the matter, though, because apparently Valar was an inspiration to a young T'Pol. So it was sort of hard for T'Pol to accept that she could be a criminal.
Yeah, she negotiated the Treaty of Catan. I bet it involved a longest road.
Yeah. Also Catan.
See what you did there. Board game humor.
Trade you some sheep for some bricks. So the Mazarites intercept Enterprise in an attempt to take Valar back to Mizar.
Oh, and this is where you know the Mazarites are douches.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because they have man buns.
Man buns. God damn man buns.
Archer says that he wants to phone home, and the Mazarites respond by jamming the communications and firing on Enterprise.
Yeah, I don't really know what the Mazarite was gaining by being like, sure, you can phone home. Like,
listen, it gave him a chance to curl his mustache a little, okay?
Well, we had to polarize the hull plating.
Which then failed.
Yeah, torpedoes also suck again.
They're once again useless.
Act 2. Goddamn, their torpedoes are such shit.
Yeah, and then Reed kind of uses some Technobabble to explain why they can't fire the plasma cannons at warp speed. So they.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, they drop out of warp and take out the Mazarite's engines very, very efficiently. By the way, Reed is very good at his job, and then accelerate back up to warp speed. Archer and T'Pol then go to question Valar as to why the Mazarites want her back in custody, and she's less than forthcoming, so Archer decides he's just going to turn the ship around and take her back to Mizar himself.
This is where Archer slow turns to T'Pol while, like, that woman's like, I'm not going to tell you. It's like, can you believe this bitch? Like, what is and then yeah, he's like, Travis, turn us around. And Travis is like, what? Why? It's like,
he pulls a dad. He's like, I'll turn the ship around.
Yeah, well, Travis needs to work on that, like, intimidating course change technique, because it's used a lot in Star Trek. Like they'll like call down to the bridge. You'd be like, change your plans. We're going back to the planet. And the other person just needs to be like, aye, sir. But like Travis is like, why?
Admiral Forrest also gives Archer like a surprising amount of leeway about deciding to go back. Like, is there a reason why he's okay with Archer doing this? Because he really hasn't given him much say in the past, so it was kind of surprising that he was willing to let him take a Vulcan ambassador back.
I didn't really understand why. Like, Archer's theoretical concept was like, we have to go back because you're putting my crew in danger,
right?
But also the Mazarites have definitely proven that they're willing to just fire upon you, so I'm not sure going back to them was not dangerous anyways.
Also correct, yes.
Right. You also returned fire and disabled one of their ships. Like, they might just come in guns hot next time.
And like, I understand what he's saying. Like, he's like, you know, there might be more ships to intercept you. I agree. But you know where there are definitely more Mazarite ships? Back at Mizar.
So Valar is hanging out with Hoshi in the mess hall. So this is scene 3 in the mess hall.
I was going to say scene number 3. There's 3 times in this freaking episode. Jesus.
Yeah, they're just drinking though this time. They're not actually eating.
Yeah. Do you remember what she was drinking?
Iced tea. Iced tea. Oh wait, hold on. Passion. God damn! I was just about to get there.
And T'Pol is again upset with her, I guess, involving herself in human customs, and I don't know, it was weird.
She is an ambassador.
Right.
And also, it's not like T'Pol hasn't done that in her time on the ship. Like,
right.
It's like she feels she has that like vertigo, right? Like, now that she's back around somebody who I know there's a technical term for that, but now that she's back around Vulcan, she feels like she needs to act like an uptight Vulcan.
You mean code switching?
Code switching, yeah.
Yes.
I think that to give her a little bit of credit, I think that she was under the impression that because of the ambassador's fairly high station, that they would be more likely to adhere to stricter Vulcan like cultural tendencies. Because, like, this isn't just some random Vulcan, right? Like, this is, like, an ambassador of note.
Yeah.
And she and T'Pol was so eager to impress her that she was like, well, this is what a standard Vulcan would like, so I'm going to make sure that this is as Vulcan as possible, even though she did not take into consideration that, like, this Vulcan is an ambassador. She probably isn't like that.
Yeah. T'Pol was returning back to the ambassador to try and get her to kind of divulge some more information about why they were in the particular predicament that they are right now, and then winds up lecturing Valar on earning people's trust, which is a weird thing to do to an ambassador. Turns out that Valar does actually remember T'Pol from when she had visited did she actually go to see the signing of the Treaty of Catan? Or was it after? I can't remember.
I don't. It was some kind of soiree. I don't know. I don't remember the specifics. Yeah. There were a lot of Vulcan words involved.
Well, either way, after the heart-to-heart about that prior encounter, Valar decides to tell T'Pol at least part of the truth, which then...
Dramatic secret-telling music.
Yeah, T'Pol goes back to Archer to let him know that while she doesn't know the entire secret mission that Valar was sent on, she knows that or at least she assumes that she's not actually guilty of the charges the Mazarites brought against her, and then asks Archer to reconsider keeping Valar safe.
This scene, my notes are, we have the goodest boy in Starfleet, because Porthos is there getting pet.
Mm-hmm.
Archer's in his official captain pajamas. And then, ew, Bakula likes it when the ladies beg.
Yeah.
His face. Really weird. Oh, God. Because she, steps forward and she's like, please, sir. And it's like, oh, God, no.
I've never asked you for anything before, and I'm asking you for this now.
It was disgusting.
Yeah. It was like some weird quid pro quo situation that left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know.
That's what the Bakula does. He leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Apparently. Then we cut to 3 Mazarite ships now firing on Enterprise. So
dramatic fighting.
Friends. Yeah. Archer tells Travis to accelerate to warp 4.9.
This is the slowest chase scene that's ever been put to film.
By the way, this scene and a couple scenes following it do the Star Trek thing that happens in a lot of episodes where they just slowly count up in warp speed.
Yeah. It's especially funny because the Enterprise starts to shake a little bit, but manages to hold it together. And then Archer asks Hoshi to keep trying to reach the Vulcans that they were supposed to rendezvous with, but their comms are still being jammed, so oh well. Valar shows up on the bridge and asks to speak to Archer. Turns out the Mazarites that were following Enterprise are part of a criminal network back on Mazar that are attempting to silence Valar, who's helping an anti-corruption campaign back on that planet. She's supposed to be a part of a corruption case against that criminal network, and Archer thanks her for finally telling him the truth.
Which, by the way, that is nothing about that explanation made sense to keep that a secret from anybody.
What was her plan? I didn't get it. I'm kind of with Archer. This was a stupid plan.
It was a very stupid plan.
It would make sense if there was at least some vague concern that maybe the Mazarites had an agent on the Enterprise or whatever, but there's no way for that to happen. So, why didn't she just tell them the plan when she got there?
Yep.
I feel like... So a lot of the tension in this season between the Vulcans and the humans has felt very...
contrived?
Yes. Contrived. That is a great word.
Which is funny because, when the Vulcan captain shows up and he's like, hey, are you okay there, Enterprise? And Archer's like, not really. And the captain's like, no problem. It just starts fucking people up. There was no debate. There was no condescension. It was just immediate, it's what I'm here to do. Here we go. He just got to work.
I feel like that guy was like, listen, you're a captain. I'm a captain. We're going to captain these fuckers to death.
Yeah.
He was just done. He was just in on it immediately. He was great.
It was one of those healthy big brother, little brother, or I guess like big sibling, little sibling relationships.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, Timmy, these kids messing with you? Yeah, a little bit. All right, I got it. And he just punches the shit out of all the little friends.
Yeah. 100% yes. So yeah, they managed to, get up to warp 9 just fine. The
Warp 5.
Mazarites,
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4.9. Warp 4.9, not 9.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You missed the part where they used the lower subspace band to contact.
No, we're not quite there
that's
yet.
Later.
Yeah, I've got a whole note on that too. No, this is this whole thing where I was like, can't the NX-01 go warp 5? Wasn't that the whole thing? And
on paper,
and then Archer's like, it's a warp 5 ship, and Trip's like, on paper, and I'm like,
yeah.
My note here is, sorry, he's right, my mistake. Shit.
Yeah, so the Mazarites hail Enterprise, and seems like they're also having trouble maintaining speed because they're ejecting plasma from their core to stay at speed.
Yeah, I think they're venting warp plasma in order to cool their engines faster.
Yeah. They have that little back and forth convo. It says, your engine's going to explode. No, yours are.
Like, I'll put raisin stripes on mine so it'll go faster.
And man, they shimmy the hell out that camera.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, the alarms start going off in engineering. They fire up the smoke machines on set, and Enterprise, they managed to get to warp 5 at Archer's beckon. But
those
boy, that thing starts to rattle.
And then like, I don't know what their actual purpose is, but it looks like the coal shoveling chutes in the back of the engine catch fire.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's the plasma shoveling chutes. Yeah, so at this point is when Falar shows up and is like, hey, I know of a secret diplomatic low-frequency subspace communications line we can use that the Mazarites wouldn't know.
I have a question.
Okay.
How does subspace bands work?
Yeah,
because, why wouldn't they just jam all of them? What does it mean by I doubt the Mazarites are aware of it? Like,
it's a secret subspace band.
Like an FM band goes from 0 to a bunch. I know all of them. Like, it's 0 to a bunch.
So, like, I don't know. I can kind of get this because, normal radio frequencies operate at particular frequencies. Right? So maybe they're just using non-radio. I don't know, man. This is fucking Star Trek. What do you want from me?
It's fine.
Yeah. So they Enterprise now starts catching on fire. Engineering is just very hot, apparently.
Too much coal. They let the box get too hot, and so now it's not. It's when the water gets heated. It's flash steaming, and it's not actually getting pushed into the return piston. So the whole engine's just coming down.
Yeah, the Mazarites hit Enterprise's nacelle and then knock them out of warp, so they're back at impulse speed. And unfortunately, they were within 10 to 15 minutes of making it to the Vulcans before, but now because they got knocked out, it's going to take even longer.
Even because Archer's like, how long? And T'Pol's like 8 minutes while they're at warp. And then they get knocked out of warp. And then Archer's like, how long? And T'Pol's like, 10 minutes.
8 minutes.
10 minutes. And Archer's like, you said 8 minutes. And I said, along with T'Pol at the same time. I was like, you were moving then, dumbass.
Archer asks Valar to head to sickbay so that they can try stalling the Mazarites long enough for the Vulcans to show up.
Motherfucker. And she goes, sickbay, why? And he goes, I'll explain later. Dude, just explain now. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not hard. We're going to pretend you're sick and then you're going to surprise them. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cue the worst part of every workday for poor Captain Archer here. He has to talk to people. And it's a shame he's the worst fast talker in the galaxy because the Mazarites just responded with prepare to be boarded.
Yeah, he's very bad at stalling for time.
And then he leaves the bridge and he says, Malcolm, I'm counting on you.
Yep.
To do
what?
What? You told no one the plan. Do you have a plan? How does it involve Malcolm? We would all like to know.
The Mazarite captain is upset about the idea that Valar is in sickbay. He's told that she suffered plasma burns and is undergoing dermal regeneration. So, naturally, the first thing that happens once they realize that Enterprise is now jamming their comms, they just start shooting holes into...
So anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah, exactly. And Phlox, to his credit, does an excellent acting job here.
Phlox is the best actor on the show, apparently.
Yeah.
And I don't mean whatever actor is playing Phlox. I mean the character Phlox is a better actor than all of the other people.
They need him to handle the intership communications here.
Because he's like, no! Yeah, they pretend. And he makes it look real, even though Archer is clearly pretending to hold him back.
He's laughing.
Yeah. At that point, that's when the Vulcans show up and just wreck the Mazarites' day. They start blasting and take out all 3 of the Mazarite ships because they've got this sick Vulcan cruiser that can apparently go warp 7.
I guess the
top of the line.
The subdermal regeneration pod monitor can be used for whatever the fuck we want. Do they put the game on it when they're not actually rejuvenating someone's skin or whatever?
Yeah, that's where Archer watches Polo.
Because I would have assumed that would be a dedicated monitor to that piece of vital medical equipment, but it's he's nah, just put the comms through to this big ass monitor here. It's fine.
All right, so listen. Little sidetrack here.
Uh-oh.
I can't tell you how many times I have been called into, back in my PC tech days, how many times I got called into a hospital room where somebody had unplugged the Ethernet cable from the computer so they could plug in a portable X-ray machine and just didn't put it back when they were done. And everybody's wondering why the medical record system won't load on the computer.
Rob, if you did your job better, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, so the portable X-ray machine plugs in via an Ethernet cable? That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a lot of data to be sending. I mean, you got to figure, a lot of the radiologists work on, some of those monitors are 16K resolution or 15K. They're much higher than normal stuff you buy for consumer, even high-end consumer PCs. They're big pictures, lots of pixels. Speaking of the TV in the med bay, the Vulcan captain makes a TV appearance on that TV and demands that the Mazarites stand down and hand over their weapons. Valar then greets the Mazarites as they're being led out of sickbay.
She pulls an Archer.
Yep, pulls one, and lets them know that she's going to include this incident in her testimony at trial against them.
What do you mean pulls an Archer?
He gloats in their face at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Archer then escorts Valar back to the shuttle to get back to the Vulcan cruiser, and
this is a cute little Vulcan shuttle. It was a smaller, adorable version of the bigger ship, which is just a cylinder with a disc around it.
I really like the Vulcan ship designs. They look.
You would.
Valar comments that it seems like T'Pol and Archer have become friends, much to the chagrin of both of them.
My last note for this episode is, all right, calm down, Galadriel, with your great Bond speech.
Yeah. She also gives T'Pol a live long and prosper, and then steps onto the shuttle, and the episode ends. So, what do you guys think of this one? I know, Stanford, you said you were giving this one a 7 out of 10.
So I would I'll say 7 out of 10. It would have been a 6, except that she did a good job, and I think that her character kind of made it a little better, and I give it a 7 out of 10. Kind of standard Trek, storytelling, nice little twist, not incredibly unpredictable, but reasonably suspenseful. It was good. It was a good episode.
Yeah, I would agree. 7 out of 10.
Yep.
This was very enjoyable. I like this a lot.
Yep, I'm with you on a 7.
And I'm trying I'm trying to figure out my own measuring system, right? Because I think of 7 out of 10 is it's good. It's good. 6 out of 10 for me is it was all right. And then less than that, we start getting into these are not good, right? But I'm 8 is oh, I genuinely enjoyed this. 9 is, this is really good. This is one of the ones I would point people to. And then 10 is this is the greatest episode of Star Trek of all time, which we have not actually named yet.
That's going to be a divisive one.
I'm not even sure. Like, I'm not even sure. It's the kind of thing that we're gonna have to go back and look for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we should have been keeping score this whole time.
I am.
Oh. Well.
I think what I'm gonna do is because like I have to edit all these anyway, so I've been writing the scores down. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a publicly available like spreadsheet that'll just keep tally.
What about the ones we didn't grade?
So those ones we will have to go back and rate because we didn't start this rating system until like episode 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Well, I have an idea for next week's potpourri.
Actually, that would be a good thing for the potpourri for the season finale.
Oh, yeah. Also good. All right. Well, I think we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back for this week's deep dive. All right, welcome back. So for this week's deep dive, I thought we could cover something. We've talked about this a little bit through a couple tangents on a few episodes, but I thought it deserved a little bit of a little deeper dive here this week. Friends and friendship amongst the crew. So Stanford,
oh, sorry, wrong friend.
Stanford, you've specifically talked about the cadre before and how, like in the U.S. military, captains will have their cadre, and that's sort of like where they, I guess, have their like pool of confidants on board a ship.
Well, and so like I know cadres from various branches. I am not like the Navy is probably the branch of the military I'm least familiar with, but I assume it's similar there. Confidant is a word, although that comes with a lot of baggage that I don't think I would use. It's mostly like these are the officers who are in positions such that you are able to be a little more friendly and informal with them, especially like during your off hours.
Okay.
Where it would be inappropriate to be that informal and friendly with people who are severely below you in like the chain of command.
Gotcha. So, That would explain why you aren't particularly fond of the way that Pike interacts with his crew then.
Yes, that's 100%. Well, putting the wheelchair stuff aside, that is my primary issue with Pike, is that
Gotcha.
it is detrimental the way he is chummy with his like lower officers.
Yeah. So like typically, at least what we've seen through Star Trek, the cadre are usually made up of members of the bridge crew, and it's typically all of the chief officers from each division on board. Plus, you might see some specialists like your pilots, your communications officer, and then the chief medical officer, because you want them in sick bay, not up on the bridge. They're not being super helpful there. I think it's also like less of a thing on Deep Space Nine, but I think Enterprise is the first series, at least that I've watched, where it seems like there's less of a cadre and it's more like it's just kind of Trip and T'Pol, the two commanders on board that Archer really hangs out with. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Like, do you guys have a favorite bridge crew as a whole that you've seen in any of the series so far?
Okay, so I just wanted to, before we get to that question, I want to push back on you just a touch,
Sure.
and maybe clarify something. When an officer has a cadre, it's usually like the officers directly below him or like next to him in the chain of command. That's unnecessary. Next to them in the chain of command. So like it is actually, and Star Trek is actually a great example of this throughout most of their series. It is like the entire bridge crew are not all like super high up officers, right? Because like the pilot's just a pilot. The tactical person is sometimes not even like the head of security. Although I still find it weird that the head of security and the tactical officer are like the same person most of the time, because those are two wildly different sets of responsibilities. But like Kirk so a cadre is only going to be 2 or 3 people tops, right? So for Kirk, it was Bones and Spock.
Spock.
Like that's That's it. Yes, he was certainly like friendlier, or at least like a little more. You can drop some of the formality around the other officers as compared to like the enlisted people that were on the ship, or like the people who are, several ranks below him in the chain of command. But there is no question that he was friendly with Spock and McCoy, and professionally behaved around with like Sulu and Chekhov and Uhura and the other people of the bridge. And that's true for like Voyager does that too. Janeway's pretty much only chummy with like Chakotay and Torres, because she's she's the chief engineer, so she's the department head. I would say maybe the Doctor, but the Doctor in that show's not like a normal Doctor.
He's a hologram, right?
Right, but he doesn't fall into the chain of command the right way.
Mm-hmm.
On TNG, Picard is really only friendly with like Riker. Troy, and Crusher, right? And Worf. He's pretty chummy with Worf too. But again, these are all department heads. Like, these are people who are the only person higher ranked than them is the captain. But that does not include like, and later when Geordi became the chief engineer, he ended up being pretty chummy with him too.
I was going to say, yeah.
But like, not O'Brien, not Wesley, not even.
Shut up, Wesley.
Yeah, he's kind of friendly with Data, but more in like an anomalous kind of way, because Data's kind of an interesting character. But he's also kind of fatherly towards Data in a weird way.
Yeah, I was going to
say,
yeah,
like not even fatherly. It's like grandfatherly. It's very strange, their relationship.
Now on DS9, it's different, because in DS9, everyone on that command bridge, I don't even know if they called it the bridge, like the command center, those are all department heads, except for like the no-name actors that are in the back. Because you got Odo's the chief of security, O'Brien's the chief of ops, Dax is, what is Dax? Because Bashir is, do they have a science department in that station? I guess so.
Yeah, she's a science officer.
Because Bashir's chief of medicine.
Dax, and they have that relationship too, because because he was friends with what's his name? What Dax? Not because it's Jadzia Dax, and then what's the former one? God, I can't remember it.
Yeah, Steven Dax or whatever his name was. I forget.
Steven Dax.
That's why he kept calling her old man, which was such a beautiful moment. Yeah.
Isn't there another Dax that shows up at the end of the show too?
Yeah, I forget her name. The last two seasons have a different Dax. And she's fine, but she definitely brings a different personality to the character.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it was a different character entirely. I don't think it's the same. It's been a while since I've seen DS9.
Well,
but I'm
pretty
sure it's someone
the
different.
Dax is the same, because that's the symbiote. The Trill.
Right. Jadzia dies.
Dies. Dax survives. Dax is then implanted into another Trill, and I forget her name. So it is and isn't the same character. It's kind of weird.
Right.
Curzon Dax. That's the
Curzon.
There it is.
So it is, if you try to look past like the main characters of the show are the cadre, because that's not always true. There is usually like the captain and then a couple of people they're buddy with, and then like the rest of the main cast are operating in and around those relationships, but they're not like directly personally related to the captain in that way, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you differentiate between the bridge crew and the cadre then?
Yes, the bridge crew and the cadre are two very different concepts.
Okay.
Because usually the chief engineer is part of the cadre too.
Yep.
Scotty, that's right. Kirk's pretty chummy with Scotty too.
Oh yeah, big time. So like, do you guys have a cadre that you're particularly fond of then over the course of every iteration of Star Trek?
I've talked too much. You go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, I in the scope of this question and what we're talking about here, I actually quite like the DS9 dynamics. I think that they had very interesting interpersonal relationships that maybe we got to see a little bit more than other ones.
That's also why I'm really fond of Strange New Worlds. I feel like they did a really good job of exploring characters in a way that not every Star Trek has really had a chance to. Like, you see in the original series, there's like a really great group dynamic between everybody, but I feel like they don't get to dive into individual character elements a whole lot. It's more following like the adventures that they're on, not necessarily who the people are, if that makes sense.
Sure. All
What
right,
about
now
you,
you talk.
Stanford?
So, coming from, the various kind of military and military adjacent structures that I've belonged to and my family has belonged to, I have to say, and this might be partly because I have not seen a lot of it, except for like the movies and the few episodes I have seen, but I think the TOS cadre might be my favorite. And the reason I say that is because they do it, whether intentionally or not, they do it right. Even though like McCoy and Spock and Scotty and Kirk are like friendly, my recollection of the various, kind of scrapes that ship has been in, those friendly relationships never really affected their performance of their jobs in ways that I think later iterations of the show allowed to happen, whether purposefully or not. And I think that there's a good level of separation between we are now on personal time and the cadre is friendly as compared to when we are professional and we are now respecting the professional decorum that is required for the tight discipline in military, high stress situations. And the way the example I would have is like, if you ever watch Spock on screen talking to Kirk, when they're friendly, he calls him Jim. But like when they're on the job, it's Captain or Admiral in some of the movies.
I have never thought about that before, but true.
That's a great example of how it's done. Like cadre will absolutely be on first name basis with each other, especially when they're like in the mess hall or they're having a drink after work or after their shift or whatever. Yeah, first names. But when you're on the job, he is not Jim. His first name is Captain. And
Captain.
TNG is better than a lot of the other ones, but even in that one, you'll still hear Picard say Will instead of Commander Riker, even when they're on the bridge in front of all the other officers. And it feels weird. Like having been raised a certain way, for me, it just feels weird when that happens.
Yeah, I think the only character on TNG that regularly breaks that decorum might be Crusher. I feel like she calls Picard Jean-Luc a lot.
She does. Well, but also Picard, when they're on the bridge, he'll call Riker Will. But when they're on the job, Riker's first name is Commander. And it's not even just it I don't want to sound like this stick in the mud, military discipline, but it's a level of clear communication, because we all know through our years and years of military training that was instilled in us in Starfleet Academy and whatnot, who the commander is. We may not know who Will is, right? And yes, the people who are on the bridge all the time, sure, they know it's Will, but people get cycled into the bridge in the background constantly. Those people have no fucking idea who Will is. It might be that dude's first week, but he knows who Commander Riker is because that's his chain of command, right? So It does matter,
Yeah,
and that's
I
what
remember.
Pike can't use a title to save his fucking life. He calls everyone by their first name, and it weirds me out.
I can't remember what series I was watching. It might have been Discovery, when I realized oh yeah, they have different shifts on the bridge crew, just like, a normal job would. They really aren't going to know potentially people that they even serve with on the bridge. They might be strangers to them.
Yeah, Voyager had really kind of talked about the night shift and stuff a couple of times because Kim was acting captain during some of the night shifts.
I'm kind of excited to get to Voyager because that's just I never really experienced it.
A long fucking way away from that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a long journey.
A long road. Getting from there to here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. All right. Well, either of you guys have anything else you'd like to add here to
nope, I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, my deep dive that was really just tricking Stanford into delivering the deep dive for me.
Damn it.
Like he was mad about it.
Right. All right. Thanks, y'all. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for Potpourri.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So for our potpourri today, by the way, I mentioned earlier, I was so glad you mentioned something in the podcast earlier, Rob, because this is our topic of our potpourri today, which is Technobabble.
Oh boy.
Or Treknobabble, as some would refer to it as.
Treknobabble! Oh, that's a fun term.
Uh-huh.
That's fun because Star Trek does have its own unique flavor of Technobabble.
It does, yes. And that actually is what our little game will revolve around.
Is this what potpourri is now? It's just games? I'm fine with it.
Not always, but they're fun. So yeah, obviously Technobabble has a long and storied history within Star Trek. It's even referenced in the lines of the show on several occasions. There's an episode of Deep Space Nine where Q says Picard and his lackeys would have solved all this Technobabble hours ago. The writers of the show hate actually the Technobabble part and having to refer to the science consultant on the show to write this stuff.
I'm sorry, which show had a science consultant? Because I have notes for that person in all of them.
Yep. Let's see here. The one I was thinking of was for TNG. The science advisor was Andre Bormanis. I don't know how to say. Maybe it's for Bormani. Maybe it's French.
Bormani. There you go.
But yeah, it's obviously Technobabble is present throughout pretty much all of Star Trek.
So have I ever told you what my dad's favorite TNG episode that they don't have the gall to ever make?
What's that?
The one where the Enterprise goes back to space dock for a maintenance, and then the maintenance crew plugs something in and everything fucking explodes because Geordi reversed the polarity on so many different systems that no one knows what's going on.
Yep. No. Perfect example of the things that go into Star Trek Technobabble. So I think for this game, what we're going to do is I'm going to read you a passage of Technobabble. And you will have to guess if it is from Star Trek or if it was a product of the Technobabble, the random Technobabble generator that I pulled from the internets.
Oh boy.
No.
This is going to be great.
Yep.
What's going to be worse, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but I will be very embarrassed if you spout a line of Technobabble and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was in this episode when this happened, and you're going to be like, fuck you.
No, what's going to be really bad is he pulled a reference from the episode we just watched. We're going to get that wrong.
I actually did not do that, but it was this episode because there was Technobabble in this episode, as you pointed out. It did inspire me to do this. So our first one. I've detected a Type L phase discriminating amplifier.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Star Trek for both of you?
Yes.
You are correct. That is from Star Trek. That is from Next Generation. Data and Picard are talking about lore, and they're differentiating themselves because one of them has a Type L phase discriminating amplifier, and the other one has a Type R phase discriminating amplifier.
I hate Star Trek so much right now.
All right. You need to decontaminate the zirconium polar cannon casings.
The zirconium what?
The zirconium polar cannon casings.
Technobabble generator.
Rob?
Yeah, I said Technobabble generator.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That is. I figured I'd start with a couple easy ones. All right.
These are the easy ones.
Synchronizing the transporter's annular confinement beam to the warp core frequency.
Star Trek.
Yeah, I think I remember that episode too.
Which one? Can you give me a little info?
Nope.
Yeah, they were beaming someone while at warp, and they had to do it really fast, so they needed 2 transporters to do it at the same time.
Which Star Trek?
I think it was TNG.
Nope. It's favorite.
Oh, is it Voyager? Okay, that would
Voyager.
explain why it was sounded so familiar.
Yep, that's B'Elanna Torres to Janeway. Chaotic space intersects ours at the 18th dimensional gradient.
Technobabble generator.
Yeah, okay.
Nope. That is also a Voyager quote.
Oh, no.
What?
Chaotic space?
Yep, Chakotay. I forget exactly what episode this was, but this is a Chakotay quote.
Where did they get an 18th dimension from?
Yep.
Oh, wait.
okay.
Is that the one where Chakotay was talking all funky because he was
think
like
so.
being
Yeah.
inhabited by some... Oh, okay.
Yep. All right. There's a control malfunction in the radial gamma wave drive pedals. You should resynchronize the flow thrust engine.
Drive
Technobabble
pedals? Gotta be the generator.
Yeah, that's generator. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
That generator's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
It is pretty solid. Like some of them are like meh. I didn't pick those, but like some of them are pretty good. The dilithium flow is offline. Reroute emergency power to the anti-gravity collector.
Star Trek.
Wait, say it again?
The dilithium flow is offline. Reroute emergency power to the anti-gravity collector.
So before I answer, let me ask you, like, did you insert Star Trek-y words into some of the generators ones? Because, like, dilithium is a Star Trek word.
That's the only reason I went with Star Trek.
So I have edited some of them a little bit to make them make more sense.
Okay.
Oh no.
Because I think that, what is an anti-gravity collector? I'm going to go with the generator, actually.
You are correct. It is a random generator. Yep.
Yes!
Oh.
See, here's the secret. The secret is you have to know the intricacies of Star Trek's bullshit science. They're not called anti-gravity collectors. There are the Bussard collectors on the front of the nacelles.
I'm detecting a quantum surge in the warp nacelle housings.
Man, my entire strategy just went out the window.
A quantum surge. Yeah, we'll go with Star Trek.
Yeah.
You sure?
No, but yes.
It is the random generator.
Oh, God.
Did you run all the random generator ones through any kind of like script?
Nope.
Control F? Because I wonder if you've accidentally landed on some that were actually said.
No, these were just pure like click the button and it generates some random bullshit. All right. The prion mutation rate had spiked. It meant the anomalous proteins had to have a strong quantum resonance.
That one is Star Trek.
Yeah, that makes too much sense. That's Star Trek.
That is Star Trek. That's Bashir from DS9.
Yep.
The temporal surge we detected was caused by an explosion of a microscopic singularity passing through the solar system.
Also Star Trek.
Babble.
That is Star Trek.
Haha.
What's that from?
That is O'Brien from DS9.
Fucking DS9, man.
All right. I'm detecting a slight field variance in the primary and auxiliary quantum drive plates.
Babble.
Yeah, I don't think there are drive plates. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
what the
with
fuck
Babel.
is a quantum drive plate?
What the fuck is any of this shit? That is a random generator, yes. All right. It appears to be a highly focused aperture in the space-time continuum. Its energy signature matches that of the temporal fragments we observed earlier.
Sounds like Data. I'm gonna go with Star Trek.
That does sound like it's. I'm going to also go with Star Trek, although it also kind of sounds like the them talking about the ribbon in
Strange New Worlds.
in Generations. No.
Oh, I thought you said the subspace Rhapsody.
It is Data in TNG.
Hey.
Yeah, but it might. But that wasn't really a time one, so yeah. But it did sound like Data. So good job, Rob.
There's an antimaterial particle trace
Anti-matter? What?
I'm tripping myself up with these words.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
There's an antimatter. There's an antimatter particle trace in the flow shaft limiter.
Oh,
Babble.
God.
That's not how antimatter works in Star Trek. It's got to be Babble. You don't have traces of antimatter. There's either a particle there or there's not.
I'm going to go Star Trek.
Stanford, you are correct. It is random generator bullshit.
I am like an expert warp theorist at this point. I mean, we had that whole episode.
I was able to create a chronoton-infused serum that brought you back into temporal alignment.
It's fucking Star Trek.
Yeah, again,
a chronoton serum.
That is Star Trek. Do you know where Star Trek it's from?
I think that's Voyager, right?
Yep, that's old EMH.
Yeah. Because he had to because there were people. Wait, that might have actually been the same Chakotay episode.
Here's another one. The vessel will return to the moment of the original chronokinetic surge. Sorry.
Wow, that one
Star
could
Trek.
be both. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Star Trek as well.
That is Star Trek. 7
It
of
sounds
9. It is the same episode as the last one. All right.
Oh. Okay, yes, I know what episode that is then.
Mm-hmm. I'm detecting a malfunction in the deuteronium controller. We should realign the solar sails.
Generator.
Star Trek, Deep Space Nine.
It is a random generator, and I picked this one specifically because there was an episode of DS9 that had solar sails.
I know, I thought maybe it was a trick question.
All right. We could steal a couple of hours while they're recalibrating the thermal interferometry scanner. God, that's a word.
Interferometer?
No, not interferometer. Interferometry scanner.
Oh, the interferometry scanner. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Robbie said Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Star Trek too. That sounds like a Torres in Paris kind of thing.
That's a Geordie to Data quote from TNG.
Oh,
yeah, interferometry is a real thing.
Oh, that's when they went to go be Sherlock and Watson.
Mm-hmm. We have to reroute the pre-ignition plasma from the impulse deck down to the auxiliary intake to get that much power.
Generator.
What's an impulse deck?
That is 100% from Star Trek. That would be O'Brien and DS9.
Oh, fucking DS9. See, the problem is DS9's engineering worked differently because it wasn't like a real spaceship. So they were able to make shit up like the impulse deck. Yeah, there's a deck of the space station where they have the impulse engines. Mm-hmm. That makes sense on the space station.
They need to divert power away from the ventral warp drive.
The ventral warp drive?
Yep.
Babble.
Yep.
Where else would your warp drive? Like,
we
got like a secondary one out in the East Wing. Like,
no, what if you got that one? What was that ship class where it only had the one and it was underneath of it?
But that's a nacelle. He said the warp drive.
Oh, right.
It's like a ship designed like a Klingon body. You got redundancy and spares. That's all. They need to increase the variance of the molecular microfilament ram scoop.
They don't have ram scoops in Star Trek.
They goddamn do. This is what the Bizarre Collector is. It's a ram scoop. Have you ever wondered why? Let me rephrase. Have you ever wondered what the bullshit science reason was that the original Enterprise and the one in Strange New Worlds has that like spinning light show going on at the front of the nacelles?
No, I just thought that was special effects.
All right, buckle up for a short technical listen.
Hold on. Answer first.
This is way more important. However, I am also going to say Technobabble.
Okay. You are correct. It is Technobabble.
On the front of most nacelles, not all, but most, there is what is called a Bussard collector. A Bussard collector is actually a real thing. There is it is a real hypothetical thing. The idea behind a Bussard ramjet is that you have basically a tube that has a large magnetic field at the front, and as you move through space, the magnetic field will scoop up hydrogen, and like it'll compress it through a cone into the engine, and it'll get so compressed that it'll fuse and then fire the excess energy out the back. So it's a type of like, it's a ram scoop fusion engine called a Bussard jet. Okay. So on the front of nacelles, they have Bussard collectors is what they call them. But basically they're able to just like open up some vents and using some magnetism and stuff, pull some shit in. Well, on the original Enterprise and the one in Strange New Worlds, they have what they call impellers, which are basically like spinning fans that warp the magnetic field in order to make them a little more efficient. The in-universe theory is that that was not useful enough to like necessitate the moving parts required there, because the more things that move, the more the more easily they're going to break, and you don't want people going into the nacelles all the time to fix shit. So they didn't use them on later starships, but that is why those things spin. It's called an impeller.
Huh.
All right, that was our quiz. Do you want to know how you did?
Yeah,
I feel pretty good.
You taught it with 14 of 20 apiece.
Nice.
Shit, man. What's that? Was it 30? That's 70%. That's pretty fucking good.
That's pretty solid, yeah.
It's a solid C.
It's a lot better than I've done in any of Chris's previous quizzes.
Yeah.
Well, curious how my dad would have done on that one.
My previous quizzes were a lot of trivia, and as probably the person who's watched the least amount of Star Trek total in this podcast, you're kind of at a handicap there.
A little bit, yeah.
We should do one that's just trivia from this season of Enterprise.
Oh, we should do that, yeah.
To see if he can. It's like a summation quiz at the end of the unit.
Right.
Oh God, who's got the last episode's potpourri?
Someone do our sign off shit, and I will check. Or don't. That's fine. Just sit there in silence. It's good. Yeah, this is beautiful audio entertainment here.
I did last week's. Chris, you're up.
All right. Thanks, everybody. That is going to wrap our show. Just want to thank you again for listening, and please go out there, like, subscribe, share, leave reviews, all that stuff. Make our podcast more popular would be great.
So hold on. Rob, you did the summary this week.
Uh-huh.
Who did the summary for the CumWeb episode last week?
You did, right?
I think so. Okay, so that means Chris, then
I'm on
me,
next summary. Mm-hmm.
And then Rob, you've got the tail end. So your summary. That doesn't help because I needed potpourri. Goddamn it.
It's Chris.
So I guess it is Chris for the last episode, so we can look forward to some wonderful season wrap trivia from him.
Excellent.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.